Also, I'm not gonna belabor that. Basically, Medicare will pay for the first 20 days, no copay. After day 20, there will be a copay, and that's $204 a day after the 20-day period. Usually for in our office, we advise folks that before we reach the day 20 of the Medicare days, we probably want to start looking at Medicaid if that ongoing rehab is going to be needed. Um, the aid in attendance numbers also haven't changed. So the numbers listed here are the max amounts. There are also strict asset limits for aid in attendance. So I mean, our office, we're not certified VA specialists, so we can't necessarily advise on VA benefits, but we can let you know that for depending on when the applicant served, whenever the veteran served, these numbers reflect the max amount that they will be able to receive if they're eligible. And you can be sure to order your magnets. I'm actually going to let Cynthia talk more about ordering the magnets and then the timeout workshop, but I do want to make sure that there is time for questions. So if you guys do have questions, you can either put them in the chat or um, if Cynthia's all right with it, just kind of blurt them out.
Yeah, anyone can please feel free to just blurt out your questions. It's fine. I just added to the chat a form. Click on that form to request more magnets. It has a space for your name and your address, so I know where to send them. So please let us know how many. The form will go through how many magnets you need and that kind of thing. So you're welcome to ask to have more sent to you. But yes, thank you, Ginny, for raising your hand. And I think you can, I muted everyone, but can you unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
So first, I just want to say I really appreciate you doing this, the ever-changing healthcare world. So this is very beneficial to us.
You're welcome.
But with this, and you guys may not know, home care, personal care services, like we talked about before, Synth, is something that's actually covered by Medicaid. Do you guys have any numbers for home care in regards to Medicaid? Like the allowances and things of that nature? And if not, it's fine. I was just wondering.
Mike,
I'm actually going to let
Ellen.
Ellen answer that
Okay,
question.
okay.
For the in-home care, number one, is approved on a case-by-case basis how many hours.
Okay.
They would have to meet the basic Medicaid reserve limit of $2,000 because that's across the board for all programs. There is no spousal protection of income or resources unless they're under the CAP or PACE programs.
Gotcha. So only CAP and PACE allow spousal protection. I'm sorry, I'm taking notes. I just want to make
No,
sure I
you're
have that
fine.
correct.
You're fine. Yeah,
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Hi, Sardi. You have a question too. Please unmute and ask your question.
Good morning, everybody.
Hi.
So my question, and let me put my hand down. Sorry. So my question, so I can understand, as far as the Medicaid for skilled nursing, are you saying that their income can be $2,000?
No, so that is for an
For skilled
applicant
nursing,
who's,
yes.
yeah,
The income
so,
can be over 2,000.
right, so their income for skilled nursing doesn't necessarily, for all intents and purposes, matter. There is a per se income cap, so their income cap can't exceed the Medicaid rate, which is the $7,000 a month. But if they have $2,000 of income, that's not going to prevent them from qualifying for Medicaid. It's really if they have more than $2,000 of assets that would prevent them from qualifying for skilled nursing.
For
It's a little bit different
skilled nursing, if the income is equal to the facility's private pay rate, which most people's would not be,
right.
then there would be no need for Medicaid because Medicaid would have nothing to pay.
Right.
But that's really the only way that North Carolina is not an income cap state. So
Mhm.
that would be the only way that their income would disqualify them from Medicaid.
Okay, so if their income is more than the private pay rate of the
At the
facility,
equal to or higher than the private pay rate at the facility, what would they be asking Medicaid to pay?
Right.
okay, so
Yeah,
it
I
has to
mean,
actually be under the amount of the private pay rate.
Right.
right.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point out with that too. So if their income is say $2,000 a month exactly, the fact that that's going to go into their account every month isn't going to prevent them from remaining eligible for Medicaid, because every month that income is going to end up going to the facility as part of their patient monthly liability amount, and they will just keep, basically it'll be the 2,000 minus seven, or minus the $70 that they get to keep. That would have
Or
to go to the facility.
or if they had 3,000 or 4,000.
Right.
I always tell people Medicaid treats income and assets like apples and oranges. They're two totally different things. And what they mean by assets is what you have in the bank on the last day of the month.
Right.
So the income going in is going to be owed to the facility. So it's not a countable asset unless it's still sitting there at the end of the month.
Right.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Does that also include, like, say, if they own a house or they own a car?
So their primary residence is considered non-countable, up to the $713,000. So if it's their primary residence, it doesn't factor into that countable asset limit, that $2,000 countable asset limit. And if their primary vehicle is also considered non-countable, so that wouldn't factor into the $2,000 countable asset limit, unless they sold it, and then that cash would then be countable.
Or unless they quit
Right.
putting tags and insurance on it,
Right.
at
Yeah.
which point it can no longer be an essential vehicle because it's not driven for transportation for medical treatment.
Right.
I had a client who did that one time, decided that the insurance and upkeep on the car was, and dropped it, and was then horrified when he found out that they were over reserve.
I see. Jeff, you have a question?
Yeah, hey, this is Jeff with the Health Insurance Shop over at Revolution Mill. How does medical debt play into the calculation of eligibility for Medicaid?
It doesn't calculate into the eligibility. It can calculate into the budgeting for the patient monthly liability in a nursing home. So that if a client had a $3,000 Cone Health hospital bill and had made an agreement to pay monthly payments on that amount, Medicaid would allow that monthly payment as a deduction when they were figuring what the person owed the facility.
So does that mean that they could possibly be eligible for temporary Medicaid?
If they're not in a facility and they're living at home, then if their income is over the $1,255 a month, they would have a medical deductible to meet. Any outstanding medical bills would be applied to that deductible and allow them to get eligibility faster.
Okay.
Okay. There was one question sent in advance, which is a little bit complicated, but I'm going to read the question as written, and then I'm going to try to kind of give some answers. DSS states the resident will just be a program change, what is involved in this process? Because some get approved and some do not, even when DSS says, oh, it's just a program change. Well, the word program change in and of itself covers a multitude of possibilities. Are you talking about a program change from MQB Medicaid, which only covers Medicare payments, co-payments, to full Medicaid, which covers doctors and hospital and deductibles and everything? Or are you talking about a program from regular Medicaid in the home to Medicaid in a skilled nursing? Because that could also be a program change. Or someone moving from assisted living to nursing home would be a program change. What that means is that Medicaid does not have to take a new application, but they do have to follow through all of the evaluations. In other words, nursing home has a 5-year look back for gifts. Full Medicaid at home does not have any penalty for making gifts, or for MQB has a higher reserve limit than the full Medicaid programs do. So they would have to make sure that each person who is trying to change their Medicaid program meets all of the qualifications for the program they're changing to, which in essence is probably equivalent to a new application, even if that paperwork is not actually have to be signed to transfer. And if that doesn't answer all of the question you had on that, please jump in and elaborate.
Alexis has a question. Hi, Alexis. Don't forget to unmute. I see your hand raised. Oh, there you go.
Hi, sorry, I don't know how to do Teams all that well.
That's okay.
So I'm trying to kind of in my head figure out the asset thing. So let's say you have a patient/client who's interested in skilled care after their stay in rehab. They've done a 14-day rehab stay. They're not going to probably be eligible at all for going into day 15 through 20. And they're looking at long-term Medicaid. They don't feel like they can go home. They'll require 24-hour skilled care in a facility. So if somebody has $32,000 in assets, meaning cash in the bank, they are going to have to still pay private pay. Am I correct in this? Until they get down to the $2,000 and or do a burial trust fund type of arrangement. The key there for them to be eligible for Medicaid would be they have to spend down or have to free up the $30,000 that are in the savings account.
Assuming you're talking about a single person,
yes,
the answer is correct.
Okay.
Yes, they have to spend down or make not countable the assets. And as far as private paying goes, and this is one of the things I've been stressing lately with a lot of our clients, is if you have too much if you're over 2,000, but you don't have enough to pay the entire month, in skilled nursing, you can pay 10 days, you're below Medicaid reserve, then Medicaid will pick up and start paying on the 11th day. You don't have to, it's not, unlike assisted living, it's not all or nothing for the month.
And if they have savings, and if the facility is requiring a so-called deposit, is it counted against them if that amount is, say, more than $11,000 or $12,000? Like, is that just considered a payment and not a gift?
Are you talking about a deposit up front to pay for the facility? Or are you talking about a continuing?
Yes, I have come in contact with some facilities that are saying we are asking for a fixed amount of money for admission into the facility before they start paying privately.
Except with the continuing care communities, I've not seen that.
Okay, interesting. Okay, thank you.
Because there's a whole manual section on the continuing care retirement
Right,
deposits.
and
Yes.
that was why I was surprised about this. I think it primarily came up when somebody was going into skilled care without utilizing rehab days. They were going from the facility into it, and it was more or less stated you had to have this amount of money to get in before they would admit you. It was going to be a long-term placement, and the family was discouraged because they didn't necessarily have that amount of money right up front for placement.
I would have I think Medicaid would have a problem with it if that was not going to be applied to the daily charges.
Okay, good. That's a great way of asking that question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's the first thing I would ask is this a guarantee that so many days is going to be paid, you know?
Okay. Okay.
Because I'm not sure what they're offering for that. So yes, if they're not getting anything at all, Medicaid would probably consider that a gift.
Okay. Thank you.
That's what I love about this. We keep hearing new things and things that have not ever come up before.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. Does anyone have any other questions before we move on to a couple other quick things before we go? Great. Well, you can see Oopsies your screen here. I wanted to let you know, make sure you click that link in the chat if you want to get more Medicaid magnets. I already see have gotten about 4 or 5 responses already. So be sure to do that if you need any more. Last but not least, I wanted to remind you of the timeout workshop, which is October 10th. This is great for facilities. We're offering 5.5 CEUs to nursing home administrators and contact hours for social workers. So please share this with your facility. We have breakfast, lunch, and a decadent dessert buffet that's going to be delicious, and wonderful speakers on artificial intelligence, multicultural perspectives on death, mindfulness, elder law updates, and the healing powers of laughter. So please share this with your teammates. And just want to thank Mike and Ellen and all of you, and we're wrapping up like 15 minutes early. I extended this Medicaid Minute by 15 minutes because we had so many questions the last one, and but we're wrapping up early. But who doesn't love to be done with a meeting early, right? Okay, I think that's it. Thank you, everybody. And Jeff, I got your email, and we'll be in touch about having you pop by soon.
Sounds good. Thanks so much. Thanks a lot for the great information.
Good. You're welcome. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.